others will try to claim your power. So if you don't trigger the fuck out of them, they will most likely try to manipulate you to claim what is not theirs, because most don't want to do the actual work. And the actual work is feeling and being honest with oneself. And so you know what you've been through. If you found this video and this is resonating with you, then you are on the path of true ascension. So there's a lot of talk out there, and it's becoming more and more confusing of what this path actually is. And there are many veils, many illusions, many places that people get stuck. And I would say the New Age cage is a big one. But even those who are familiar with the work of Asha Yanadine or Lisa Renee, there is an element of, yes, you want to take information from them, but you also have to see what has happened there as well with the hijack of Asha Yanadine. And you have to see what Lisa Renee is really involved in. It's not so black and white, yeah? So this is where one needs to have their own gnosis of the process of ascension. And there are many things that were stored in the CDT plates, if you know about the CDT plates, which were stolen and replicated through this artificial intelligence system. So this system has not only been replicated to the 11.5 dimension, it has been replicated to the 15th dimension, in my experience from going into lifetimes myself. So in this video, I'm going to be dishing out truth. I'm going to be dishing out what I have experienced personally through own gnosis, through own experience, and talk about what I actually know from the memory of the CDT plates, which is information that can't really be learned through words or through reading on a page. And so this is something that I teach in my sessions, and my sessions are very personal, very one-on-one, and I will never remove anything for you. I teach you how to get in touch with your highest self, free from all entanglement, and to do the work yourself. And it is a process. Many veils have to be lifted as far as implants are concerned, cords, programs within us. And so, yes, this is a journey back to self, and I am only a guide, because this whole thing is always about you reclaiming your own authority. And we have all been so programmed, so hijacked to put authority outside of ourselves, that there are many forms of deception in regards to how we do that. So on the first levels of ascension, when someone is waking up, they might have experiences with the paranormal. It might be going into trauma, memories that have been blocked. So someone has either a crazy dream, someone has a traumatic event, someone has a near-death experience. There are many ways someone can come into their awakening. And out-of-body experience, astral projection, these are all when one is starting to begin to come into the journey of awakening and what this is. So I personally went into my journey through remembering blocked trauma. That was how it started for me, that and diet. So I started with a raw vegan diet, and then I went on to Candida diet. And the whole thing about my process beginning, it started with me thinking that diet was the solution. So I had health problems, and I was like, okay, well, this is how I'm going to, we've been in a society that has told us so many lies about the food and what we eat. And yes, that is a big part of it. And that is what I saw first. That was my first piece of the puzzle. But then I went a bit further and I moved back into my old family home. And in my house, I started to notice that I would get really sleepy. I started getting psoriasis all over my body. I started getting sicker, even though I was on this diet that was supposed to be helping me get better. But everything just kept getting worse. So I just kept going more and more to diet. I was like, kept getting stricter on what I ate. And then I was like, oh, it's just because this and this. And I was like all into food allergies. And then I realized, okay, I'm getting like pretty much deathly ill. I got down to 90 pounds. I wasn't eating. I was basically sleeping all of the time. And I would go to the hospital and they didn't know what was wrong with me. But I started to realize, make the connection that when I left the house, that I felt better. And so once I made this correlation, I was like, oh, well, it's mold. It has to be mold. At this point in time, I knew nothing about subtle energies, right? We've all been programmed to think that they don't exist. It's only what you can see. So I just thought, okay, it's mold. I need to move out. And so when I did that, I started to gradually get better. And then I moved back to Miami, Florida, the city I had been living in prior to moving back into my family house, because I just wanted to get away from this horrible experience. I didn't want to experience it anymore. So when I moved back to Miami, this is when things got very real for me. And I started to experiment more with spirituality. I was drawn to Kundalini yoga. And so when I got into Kundalini yoga, I noticed like in the class, my body would like go into full on like Kundalini activation type stuff. I would have like tingling all over my body. The energy was like surging through my body. I would have like tetany in my hands, which is like kind of when your hands go like this, you can't move them because the energy is surging so hard, and your arms will curl up. I would feel like the energy is in my hands like water. I would feel my body rocking. All kinds of things would happen in the Kundalini yoga class, and I would have a lot of fear and trauma come up as well. So this is when the yoga instructor told me to go to a somatic healer. He was a healer. He was also acupuncturist, did a lot of things. So the first session that I had there, I had like this really weird vision of a volcano erupting that looked like a vagina. And I had been having chronic vaginal pain at that point. I had gotten better. A lot of things had gotten better after I moved out of the house, but the one thing that hadn't gone away was my chronic vaginal pain. So I'm in the session, I have this weird vision, I'm having like the energy start in my body, and I'm like, this is so weird, I don't understand what this is. And then a few days after the session, I started remembering all of the childhood sexual abuse. And then from there, it was a journey of remembering a lot of things. I had blocked basically my entire childhood and what had happened to me. And so this is when you start getting into like how dark things actually are here. And so it was like a 5-year journey of me going into all of that and getting different layers of it. And I would shadow the healer that I worked for. And then there's this point where I start really understanding the subtle energies, and I start getting other lifetimes, like other deaths in my session. And the healer that I was helping me, he didn't really believe in past lives. Like he didn't really believe in other lifetimes. He didn't believe in any of that. And a lot of somatic people don't, and they don't know about that part, which is a huge part of it. So yeah, I'm going into these other lifetimes, and then I start having interaction really with the spirit world. Other beings start coming to me, and it's mostly like those that have had really traumatic deaths, and I'm not understanding like what is going on. And then I'm also starting to be attacked at this point, and I'm not understanding what attacks are. So this is like several years of me trying to understand. I was like doing the basics at that point. I had some crystals, I knew about crystals, and I would use sage and Palo Santo to like clear my space. That's all I knew. And then I get to this next level of understanding. I'm having, like, my anxiety is like through the roof. It's insane. I like can't even go to work at that point. And I've had bouts of anxiety, you know, and I would just be stuck in places of like insane terror, insane emotional pain. And I would just be there for like hours, 24 hours sometimes. But I had been learning how to go into these dark places through the somatic stuff. So it was like working the muscle. So basically, I get to this point, this breaking point again. The anxiety is so bad, I can't go out of my house. Everything, this is right before COVID. This is before COVID hit. And so I decide to do this plant medicine ceremony. And in the plant medicine ceremony, I have my actual awakening. And it's how, in the ceremony, I saw that this is how I planned it. And the woman who held space for me when I woke up, I saw my many lifetimes with her. I saw that we had a contract for me to wake up with her. And I just got tons and tons of downloads about the future, about the system, about who I am, about other people in the group that I was with, because I could see all of their lives. I had access to everyone's Akasha. And it was a weird place of seeing like basically how fucking dark everything is, but not to the extent that I understand now, but that, and then getting to a place of 0 point where I had like an acceptance and an overarching knowing of what this is. So yes, in that 0 point place, there was no time, and I stared directly into the sun for what should have been 8 hours, but I had no time. And then this is when I got all kinds of information and downloads. So once I came out of that experience, I started getting attacked. The attacks were really, really bad, and I would get like vertigo so insane that I would just be vomiting. I couldn't walk anywhere. Yeah, and this was something that went on off and on through my attacks for another almost 4 years, when I would get my attacks and when I was learning things. And so yeah, I had this thing there. And then the healer that I worked for, that I had put on this pedestal, that I basically made God, I had to see a lot of things that were going on there. I had to be very honest with myself about certain things, what were happening. And there's this whole other level of understanding the energies. Like I had to see my part in having my daddy issues, and also having like being seductive towards this person, because this person was the person who saw me, right? They were the person who was there when I came out of my sexual abuse. And so, but this person was also dark and was also grooming me. So we were both playing a role. And until I healed that and I saw what was happening, I was there, and I gradually was getting like sicker from working there. I would feel super drained. I would have to sleep the entire day after I came home. And then eventually we had like a moment, I realized that I needed to leave. And so I made the decision to leave. And then it was like right on my last day, I was like, I had this epiphany of what was actually going on there. Because you can move all the subtle energies, you can have sexual orgasms that way, and the energy can be siphoned. So this is what happens in Tantra and a lot of these energy manipulating modalities. So I'll go into that in another video. I'm going to have a whole video regarding that. But I basically had to see like how fucking complex this whole thing of distortions and manipulation is. So I got out of that. I moved out of the city. That's what I needed to do. The city was too dense. And then I started to come more into what happened here. I got the history. I got more of my lives. I went into Lisa Renee's material, actually Anna Dean's material. And I had a journey with both of them, making them this authority figure and all is good with them and they don't have any dark shit and there's not any distortion or manipulation there. I also had to come to that realization. So when I came to that realization, like the main thing that I realized through all of that was a knowing that I had about the fact that most individuals don't actually know how to go into trauma, how to really, really sense these really fucked up dark emotions and sit with them in their body and process them and get the lesson from them. There's an element that somatic therapies teaches you, but there's so much that is not connecting, and so much is off, and a lot of practitioners are feeding energetically off the people that they are helping. So I had to learn all that. And once you get to a place where your higher heart center is activated, you can actually see the cords, the implants on other people. So you start seeing it on yourself, and then you're given the ability to remove them. And most of the time, like when you're removing them, you're going into those lifetimes, you're getting the emotion, you're sensing everything, and then you're getting the lesson around it, and then you make the decision to cut the cord or this or that or end that contract. So it is a process over periods of time. It's like not like anything is going to be overnight. And I just like to teach others the methodology to going into it, so you're given the actual tools. So I put everything together, and that is what I offer in my sessions. I show one how to actually do this. But I will say the thing is like most people get stuck. Most people stop, and they stop at a lot of different places and they don't go further on their journey. And then this is how they get hijacked. This is how they go into phantom, like Asha and Nadine. A lot of people who are the messengers and they bring the message, they can't actually actualize. They can't actualize their own message. They can't put into gnosis their own message. And this is what I've been seeing over and over again with the healer that I worked for, with Asha and Nadine's material, with Lisa Renee's material, how everyone seems to get pulled into the dark. And it is, for a lot of people, it's still so in the head. It's still so mental, and there's not this understanding of the emotional capacity to feel, to open the heart. And that is the heart. The heart knows through polarity integration these extreme layers of darkness, so then one can face them in the world around you. And so, yes, when you get to these levels of knowing, you activate more levels of awareness, more power within yourself. And the farther that you go, the more others will try to grab onto that. They will try to latch onto that. They can't completely understand what's going on with you, or what's this strength that they see, or what's this power that they see. And a lot of people think that they can get that power by manipulating you, or this strength or this power is something that triggers them in themselves because they don't have access to it, or they don't want to go into the dark memories. They don't want to go into the sexual abuse trauma, or maybe what happened to them when, they were doing all these horrible things in a timeline. So this is what I have gotten over my journey, over and over again, seeing people get stuck at a certain place, seeing people get hijacked, pulled into phantom. So I know a lot about the history, and, those of you who know me from TikTok, I will be going more into that in longer, more in-depth YouTube videos, because I seem to be getting shadow banned on TikTok. And yeah, let's see if it happens on YouTube, see if I'm allowed to speak. So that's also been my big wound from all my lifetimes, is my voice has always been silenced for speaking about these things that I know and showing the path out. So I'm glad you found this video, and if you are one of the few that understands what I'm actually saying, and you've experienced aspects of this, or maybe you don't understand exactly what I'm saying, but it really resonates with you, I encourage you to book a session with me, or maybe even start with my guided meditation. And yes, it's a decent price. I charge $222 for a session with me, but yes, I have to charge for my time, and my time is valuable. And I have learned that in this whole journey as well, that boundaries are important, valuing your own time is important. We still function in a system that is through monetary, money, black magic. Since we've all been conditioned around that, we don't value something unless we pay for it. That is just what I have seen. And until we break that, until we all understand true energetic exchange and what actual boundaries look like. So I go back to the beginning statement in this video. Once you start to reclaim your own power, reclaim your sovereignty, you do see what I'm talking about here. How many have expectations of you to just give away your light freely while it is being siphoned. So there is a disconnect. That is what the dark wants. They want us to be wide open in the heart without any boundaries, because the heart is a portal. It's an access point, and to demonic attachment, to a lot of things. This is what connects to the astral, and the astral realm is completely infiltrated. So this is all for today, and I'll be making more videos. So please follow me, like, subscribe, and grateful for those of you who are actually on this path, who are doing the work, who are the real leaders, so that we actually change things here.